Apricot chicken exploded in Australia in the 1970s. I wouldn't be surprised if back then it was on half the population's dinner menu at least once a week. And the reason it was so popular is that it is so easy. I came across this variation a few years back actually in a little church cookbook, and it has a couple of additional ingredients that seem to elevate the dish. And if you haven't heard of apricot chicken before, or perhaps you haven't made it in years, I'm really glad you're here because it's quick, easy, and most importantly, it's family friendly. And this is how I do it. Now the recipe calls for a 410 gram tin of apricot nectar. Now apricot fruit juice won't work for this recipe. And I couldn't get apricot nectar, so when that happens, I just buy a tin, the same size tin of apricot halves in natural juice and blend that until it's a puree. And that should give you a thicker consistency like apricot nectar. So the first thing to do is fry the chicken, and you can use chicken bone-in pieces, whatever you like, or you can just use chicken thigh fillets without the bone. I've made this plenty of times just with chicken thigh fillets without the bone. But today I'm using just chicken drumsticks, and I have 1.3 kilos here. So between 1 to 1.3 kilos works for this amount of sauce. And all I want to do is lightly brown them. They're not even seasoned, but I've just got a little bit of oil and butter in there. And I like the butter with the oil. It sort of makes the food less oily, gives it a nice flavour. And I suppose it's just habit. It's been about 5 minutes on one side. By browning the chicken, it also renders the fat, which makes it more flavoursome. And that's been about 15 minutes in total, and they've got some nice colour on them now. And transfer them to a casserole dish. Now, if your pan's not big like mine, you might have to brown the chicken in batches. And I'll set the casserole dish aside. And if you're left with a lot of fat, which I'm not, I need a little bit of fat for the next step, but if you're left with a lot, just drain it. Put the pan back on the heat and stir in 1/4 cup of flour, just all-purpose flour, and 1 packet of French onion soup. And just stir that until the flour is nice and browned, just for a couple of minutes over a medium-low heat. And then remove this from the heat and add 1 1/4 cups Australian of water, plus 1 can of apricot nectar, or in my case pureed apricots. So just 2 stock cubes. I'm just using the Mussel brand. I quite like them. And crumble them in. Salt and pepper to taste. Now the French onion soups, I didn't get the salt reduced packet, so it's a little bit salty, so I'm just going to put a little bit of salt. I can always add more after it's cooked when I can taste it, but I'll add some pepper. Now mix this until smooth, and it might be a good idea to get the whisk, and that will just help get rid of the lumps from the flour. I thought this was a lump of flour and it's actually a bit of chicken. I'll leave it in there. Now I'm just going to return this to the stove, and over a moderate heat, just bring it up to the simmering point again. And this is what makes this version delicious. I pour in 1/2 cup of evaporated milk, or you can use sour cream. I don't mind using evaporated milk because I love the leftovers in my coffee. And that's the sauce. And then I just pour the sauce over the chicken. Now this goes in a moderate oven, like 160 degrees with a fan Celsius or 180 conventional, for between 45 to 55 minutes or thereabouts. If you're using chicken boneless thigh fillet, it's probably only about 40 minutes. And in the meantime, I'll boil some rice to go with it. So this has had 50 minutes and I'm just going to have a little peek. Oh, that looks good. And the sauce is lovely and thick. And now is the time to taste it and adjust it for seasoning. And that seasoning is spot on. And this is lovely served with rice and a green vegetable. Today I've just had rice, and you can garnish it with a little bit of parsley just for a pop of colour. Now if you double this recipe, you don't need to double the sauce because this makes a lot of sauce. So I would suggest just maybe 1.5 times the sauce and just sort of double the chicken. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoy this recipe. I think it's like the best version of apricot chicken I know. And hopefully I'll see you again soon.